Hi and welcome to the second tutorial on dialogue. As I said at the start of the first tutorial, dialogue is really important to use for you to liven up your writing. But unless you get all the punctuation right, it's going to confuse your reader. So this tutorial has to do with how you use punctuation with dialogue. Specifically, where did the periods and commas go, question marks, exclamation marks. And because there are situations that might crop up with quotes inside of a quote, we have to learn also about one other punctuation mark, and that is single quotes. Okay, so we're going to start with this sentence. And it's this. She asked, "Are you the person who screamed, 'Fire'?" Okay, it's a very bizarre sentence. There's a lot of things going on here. What I want you to do, try right now, is to put the punctuation marks in here that you think belong in the particular place. So just to get you started here, she is saying the words, "Are you the person who screamed fire?" But you need lots of other punctuation in there. So give that a try right now, and at the end of this tutorial, I will give you the answer. But for now, we're going to take it step by step, leading up to that sentence. All right, here is the first lesson, and it has to do with single quotes. But this also is a good spot to practice double quotes as well. So with these two sentences, fill in where you think the punctuation marks should go. He said, "I like the song Happiness." And I should tell you here that song titles are put in quotes. So we have a quote inside of a quote. Second sentence, "I like the song Happiness," he said. Okay, so put the marks where you think they belong. Okay, and here are the sentences. First of all, remember that any words that are spoken have to be in quotation marks. And they come in pairs. This is going to be a strange one here, I'll explain. But remember, anything spoken, you have to have quotation marks. So in this case, you have the double quotes, but there is a quote inside of the quote, and that's when you have a single quote. You can take a look there, and the same down here. Single quote, single, and then you have the double that again comes in pairs like this. So when there is a quote inside of a quote, here's the bigger quote in which you're using double quotes, but there's a quote inside of it, you use single quotes. Now, before I go on, just make sure that you have a few other things going on correct here, like a comma to separate who spoke from what they say. So make sure that comma is there here, and the same over here. And just make sure that this is lowercase. Okay, with that in mind about the single quotes, let's move on to the next portion here, which is really, really important. And that is, where do the commas and periods go inside or outside of the quotations? All right, so take a shot at these three sentences. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And just to let you know, those words, ifs, ands, buts, those all need to be in quotations. Number two, my favorite poem is titled "Those Winter Sundays." And again, from another tutorial, you may have learned that poem titles go in quotes. And number three, he said, "I read the poem Those Winter Sundays." All right, so write those down. Be really careful where you are putting the punctuation. And here are the answers. Okay, you will notice that all these words have quotations around them, but the main thing is to pay attention to punctuation like that. In number one, it's there are no ifs, comma inside, ands, comma inside, or buts about it. Number two, my favorite poem is titled, make sure you have the quote mark there, "Those Winter Sundays," close the quote here, but right now this is the key element to look at, and that is periods go inside the quotes. Number three, he said, okay, he's speaking, so you have to go into a quotation mark, "I read the poem Those Winter Sundays." He finishes talking over here. So you close the quote. Notice the single quotes. We have a quote inside of a quote. And then for this particular rule, be aware of this. The period goes inside. Are you finding a pattern? That's right. Commas and periods always go inside of the quotes. I know, it almost doesn't make sense. And if you read books that are published in England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, they'll do it differently. It depends in those countries. But in America, commas and periods always, always, always go inside of the quotes. Amazing, isn't it? But that's the rule. Now, let's see if that rule applies with other punctuation marks, like question marks and exclamation marks. Let's start with question marks. Here are 6 or 7 sentences. Hit pause, take a look at these, write the sentences down, and as always, be really careful where you are putting the punctuation marks in relation to the quotation marks. Now, all of these examples need quotation marks. And then from there, the main thing is, where are you positioning the question mark? So hit pause, take your time with those sentences, and when you are done, this time I'm going to start by telling you what the rule is. And the rule is that it depends. With commas and periods, it's easy. They always go inside. But question marks and exclamation marks, we'll see, it depends. With commas and periods, it's easy. They always go inside the quotes. But question marks and exclamation marks, it depends. Sometimes they go inside, sometimes outside. They go inside when the quoted material is a question. They go outside when the quoted material is not a question, but the statement is a question, or rather, the quoted material falls within a question. Now, with all that said, go back to the 7 questions and see if you want to revise anything. All right, are you ready to see the answers? Here they are. For number 1, she asked, "Are you running late?" Okay, the quoted material is a question mark inside. And I just wanted you to practice reversing that arrangement of a question for number 2. "Are you running late?" she asked. Yes, the question mark goes inside, as you can see, but notice that the she asked is lowercase. Okay, on to number 2. "Did you say I don't need no help with my grammar?" All right, the quoted material is not a question, but it falls within a larger question, and that's why it goes outside. Number 3, "Do you like the poem Those Winter Sundays?" Well, Those Winter Sundays is not a question, but it falls within a question, and therefore it goes outside. Is it making logical sense? Number 4, "I read the article titled, 'Who Will Win the Race?'" Okay, that quoted material is a question. Who will win the race? That is a question, so it falls inside the quotation marks. Number 5, "Did you read the article titled, 'Who Will Win the Race?'" Okay, this is really peculiar. This may never happen to you, but we have a question. Who will win the race? That falls within a question. So do you want to have question mark, quote, question mark? Well, that gets a little too much. So it has been decided to just put it after the quotation mark. And finally, number 6, he asked, "Did you read the poem Those Winter Sundays?" Okay, this is getting challenging. See how you do with this. Remember, single quotes, because this is a, whoops, let me go out here. This is a quote within a quote. So single quote, that's a little much there. Let me clear that off for a sec. Single quote, and then you can see in this area the single quote, and then you make sure you have the double quotes because this person is speaking all these things. But look where the question mark goes. Those Winter Sundays is not a question, but you're being asked Did you read this poem, Those Winter Sundays? And that's why the question mark falls between these two marks. So it does make logical sense if you think about it. Now, the rules for exclamation marks are the same as question marks. So you are experts at this now. Try these 3 sentences. He screamed, "Fire!" Number 2, don't you ever dare use the word cupcake. And just to let you know, you want to put cupcake in quotes. Number 3, he screamed, "Read the poem, Those Winter Sundays." Wow, I'm violent here in my office. Okay, so come up with the right punctuation there. And you know the rule, same ones as the question mark, meaning it depends. So with that said, your answers are... Okay, take a look here. For this first one, he screamed fire, or rather, he screamed fire! So you want to have quotes, all right, because those words are uttered out of the person's mouth and they have to be in pairs. And there's an exclamation, and that goes inside of the quotes because the quote itself is an exclamation, as opposed to number 2. Don't you ever dare use the word cupcake. Cupcake is not an exclamation, but it falls within a statement that is an exclamation, so that's why the mark comes outside of the quotation marks. And finally, number 3, he screamed. So we have a quote within a quote. He is saying these words, so make sure you have them in pairs. But then we have a quote in a quote. Read the poem, those, single quote, those winter Sundays. So we need the single and the double quotes. Where's the exclamation mark going to go? Well, it goes between them because of logic. Those winter Sundays is not an exclamation, but it falls within a statement that's being exclaimed. That's why it goes inside of the quote. Okay, to summarize the rules from this tutorial, single quotes, when do you use them? When you have double quotes already, and within that quotation there is another quotation, so you use single quotes. Where to put commas and periods? Easy. Commas and periods go inside of the quotation marks. Always, always, always. What about question marks and exclamation marks? Well, you have to use some logic there. It depends. Sometimes they go inside if the quoted matter is a question, but if not, then they go outside. If the quoted matter is not a question, but it falls within a whole statement that is a question, then it goes outside. So let's wrap this up by going back to that original, ridiculous first sentence that I started this tutorial. She asked, "Are you the person who screamed, 'Fire?'" All right, see what you can do now with that. Where do the quote marks go? Is there a quote within a quote? What do you do with that? Question marks, exclamations, all those sorts of things. All right, so this is what it looks like here. She asked, start the quote here, double quote, "Are you the person who screamed fire?" Well, we have to have the double quote out here to close the quote. Fire is a quote within a quote, so we need a single quote. I'm giving a little extra space in here. Now, fire is an exclamation, so you need an exclamation mark there. And the whole statement here is a question. So you want a question mark there. And that's what it looks like. Keep in mind these other things. You separate who speaks from what they are saying with a comma, and you start quotes with a capital letter. So that's what it looks like. Strange sentence, huh? So remember, single quotes when you're inside of double quotes, commas and periods go inside of the quotes always. I'm not joking. And exclamation marks and question marks, it depends. All right, so those are the rules for punctuation with dialogue with this tutorial and the last one. So I hope all of this has helped you out. Really important to use dialogue. It's going to liven up your writing, but you have to get the punctuation right. Bye.